What do you think of epidural?
I think epidurals, I don't know how to say this. I have a lot of moms come in later that'll say, I think my back pain's from my epidural. I'm like, why do you say that? They just had to try it a lot of times. Like in my view, like being a chiropractor and doing anatomy, like an actually like dissection of the body and the spine, I can't even imagine doing an epidural, like physically doing an epidural in the right way.
Yes.
And puncturing the spinal cord and essentially like realizing that there's no vascular tissue that actually nourishes and heals nerve tissue. So when it's harmed like that, a lot of times it just never heals. And when it never heals, there's somewhat of a permanent challenge that a lot of moms will come in later and tell me about. A lot of times they fail, where moms are like, yeah, I got an epidural, but I felt everything.
I felt everything.
Right? And so the question is, again, and this is me being humble, that I will never birth, I will never grow a baby.
Because
right?
you can't. This is not...
Because I physically can't.
It's not
biologically can't.
Option. You didn't choose that.
And I would say, I don't know what it's like, right? So I'm not shaming any mom who's been through this process and things like that.
But our moms did without C-section, without epidural, right? So it means it's possible. I know it's painful. I can't even fathom how painful this is, but it is possible.
So I just did a podcast. The last podcast I was on is a medical doctor. His name is Dr. Stuart Fishbein. He's in LA in Orange County. He did 24 years of Cedars-Sinai, conventional obstetrics, and then he met midwives, and he left the medical system. He started working with midwives only. So now he's 40 years in practice. He has about 16 years only doing home birth. So medical doctor, OBGYN, only does home birth. But he specializes in twins and breech. Twins and breech. Should be in conventional trained.
Correct.
Always 100% C-section every time.
Really?
What's his not every time, but 90+% of times, babies are rarely twin and breech born vaginally. Rarely, right?
Okay.
What's his transfer rate to the hospital?
I don't understand. I don't know the word.
So transfer rate to the hospital, let's say it this way, like, because we were talking about, like, if you hire a midwife and you do a home birth, right? You want to have a home birth. Or if you go to a birth center and you want to have a birth center birth, there's typically a transfer rate to the hospital. If things are outside of their scope,
I got you.
An emergency.
I got you. Something goes bad.
The transfer rate, kind of industry wide, I would say is somewhere on the good end, meaning is more like 10%. On the more frequent end, it's 15 to 20%.
Okay.
Right.
So his is like what, 3 to 5? 1%.
1%.
Because he has this practice of working as an OBGYN for 20 years.
Well, because he has the scope, right?
Correct.
His license says that he knows emergency. He has the scope to actually stay with a mom under his license as long as he can. But a 1% transfer rate. So what drugs does he use? Virtually none. Right? So he has the most complicated cases, the breech, the twin births, that are almost always conventionally C-section deliveries, and his C-section rate, his transfer rate is even better than the midwives. Not to say that he's better than midwives. He learned everything he learned today, and he's humble enough to say that he does. But he has a transfer rate that in my postgraduate training, it says the same thing. All the best midwives around the world, Ina May Gaskin in Tennessee, there are other OBs that actually know a lot about letting moms, like the less they do, the better, that the average rate of transfer is around 1%, 1 to 2%. Why are we doing all these interventions, carte blanche, on virtually every single mom when moms can actually potentially birth completely free of the system, right?
Does epidural affect a child?
The epidural affects the child in multiple ways. I would say just something as simple as like an IV affects mom. Right? IV is important for hydration, but most people, like oftentimes moms will have challenges breastfeeding, Most people don't know that an IV alone can saturate the tissue of mom so dramatically that it cuts off the body's ability to not make the milk, but sometimes deliver the milk to the baby. And so things like something as innocuous as an IV can actually have some challenges as well. I would say any intervention that affects mom's system can't not affect the baby. Any intervention that affects mom's nervous system, meaning shutting down this entire region, supposed to be only the sensory aspects, but moms sometimes can't walk, right? And if they're losing sensory and motor
For
in
some
this
time or
particular
at
area,
all.
no, I would say just while their system is completely numbed out, sometimes there's this sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes they lose motor and not sensory, so they feel pain, but they can't move.
Well, that's
So
scary.
when the nervous system is shut down in the area of the nervous system, that area particularly is what controls the uterine contractions, the cervical dilation, but also controls the placenta, controls the nourishment of the baby. Of course it can have an effect on the baby, but we would never talk about that in a conventional world.